All right, awesome. So Princess Spike. This one's pretty awesome, and it shows sort of like distribution of power, and a little bit more importantly, how you see yourself with significance and growth, especially with your like connections and your relationships with others. So it starts off like pretty basic, right? So Twilight, she's doing all this planning for this massive ceremony, this huge event in Canterlot, and everybody's coming. There's like this huge party, and it's a big regal event, and everyone's gonna come together, talk about politics, talk about local events, current events, whatever needs to happen. And so it's just this huge event that she's coordinating and she's getting ready to speak at, and there's a lot of people there speaking, and so it's a pretty important thing. And so because of that, she takes the planning of it really seriously, and she's got like a whole bunch of crap that she's got to do, so many things. So she kind of got put on seminar duty. She got put on like setup duty for this whole event, and so she's doing a whole bunch of work on this for days and days and days on end. And she like works for like 3 straight days and gets everything done after tons and tons and tons of work. And she's so happy with herself, so proud of it. And so she goes into her room and she just like passes out because she is so tired from all the work that she's been doing. She just goes on her bed and she is like out for like forever. And so while she's asleep, she asks Spike to kind of take care of anything that comes up or whatever happens around the city while she's asleep. And so Spike just kind of like guards her door and makes sure no one comes in because she needs to sleep, right? And so he wants to help her out by letting her have her time to sleep. And so as a lot of people, they still have like questions, right? They still don't really know what's going on. And they're just like general arguments. And in Twilight, it's cool because like it's a source of authority that's accessible to a lot of people. And so they see her as someone that they can turn to with their problems. So, for better or worse, everybody wants help from her. And so a lot of people come over to like her room and try to, they line up outside and they say, hey, can you help us out with our problem and fix this issue that is happening? And so Spike like takes somebody's question, and then he walks inside and he realizes that like Twilight is dead asleep and she just does not want to get up. And so because she doesn't want to get up, like she's just so tired. So he comes back out and he just tries to kind of answer it in a responsible, reasonable way, like share things or don't be angry or stop arguing, stuff like that. And he just kind of answers stuff for Twilight and starts to take over some of her just like general, question answer duties. So some pretty basic stuff at the beginning. And then what happens is it starts to escalate. It starts to grow. It starts to get larger and larger. And what he's doing becomes more and more significant. So like first thing, he starts to go off, and after he's answered all his questions, he'll go and work through like her daily list of things that she's got to get done. And so she'll work through, like fixing the water line. And what he wants to do, right, is he wants to make it a good environment for Twilight to sleep in. So it's nice, quiet, not too big of a ruckus anywhere. And so he'll like tell these guys that are trying to fix the water line, but they've got like their jackhammers going super hard, so like it's super noisy. And so he asks them to like go away and be quiet for the next couple of hours so that Twilight can get some more rest and not be woken. So he's got like solid intentions, and he's just like taking control and taking power by leveraging Twilight as an authority figure in Canterlot. So he goes through these situations over and over and over again, and he's like basically like using this connection and this bond as a means to sort of like if the king of the town, he's like connecting with her, so he's like the side man for her. And so he's just using like his positioning as a way to get stuff done that needs to get done for her. And also it starts to grow and grow, and he does more and more and more things. It gets to the point where he's doing a bunch of stuff for himself, right? So he goes and he like gets massages, gets a bunch of gems, and so he starts to like abuse this positioning. And then a lot of these people that he was trying to help originally, they come back and they still have like super big problems, and then they're upset with the princess because the advice that Spike gave them didn't work. And so it just starts to kind of spiral out of control a little bit, because like he's not her, right? And he's pretending to be her, and he's pretending to have her best wishes at heart, when in reality a lot of times he's just sort of focusing on like what he wants and what's best for him, which doesn't really work out for a vast majority of these people, which sucks, right? And so he starts to sort of like, have a little bit of accidents and after accidents. So there are some, trees all over the place that make dragons sneeze. And so, he has this huge sneeze and he knocks over this massive statue, and then crystals are everywhere. And he's a huge mess, and he kind of destroys like part of the ballroom. And so he's got to fix that, he's got to rebuild that. And he goes through all these challenges where, if he just kind of like stayed on track and stayed doing what Twilight wanted him to do, which was just to chill out, it wouldn't be a problem. But he went out and he was like trying to get things out of his relationship with Twilight. He was trying to use it as a tool to take and to steal from others, other things that would otherwise just not be his problem. And additionally, he's giving out tons of advice that's completely unwarranted. So a lot of these guys come back and they are like pissed off. So Cadence sees this and she comes in and she sees that like Spike, he's doing what he can, but in reality he's really like serving himself, right? And so it's this idea that he's giving himself a temporary pleasure high, but in reality he's destroying the lives of those around him, and he's ruining them in the long term, it just sucks. It's a bad place to be. And so because of that, he's like destroying his overarching long-term image, and kind of more importantly, he's sort of ruining like Twilight's reputation, because she's just sitting there asleep, but everybody thinks she's making all these mistakes because Spike, he's not being transparent, right? He's sort of like, bleeding the truth and not really telling people the truth when he says, Princess Twilight wants this. He's just using that as an authority taker, up the authority, but in reality it's like his desire, and it's what he wants to get done, and it's not like her, right? And so you got to kind of separate the two and always make sure, like when you have these relationships with powerful people, or you become a powerful person, or you have some kind of influence, right? You use it like ethically, right? And you don't go out and ignore like what actually matters, or the event that is like legitimate, and start doing what's on your own agenda and get things done for yourself. But you look more holistically at like what's best for everyone, what's best for the group, what's best for this event, what's best for the overarching growth that everybody needs. So that instead of like destruction and angry people, right, you have like you need to be transparent and say, look, she's asleep, and I'm not gonna lie to you about it. She's like super tired, so she's not gonna be able to answer any of your questions. Rather than making up your own story, making up your own line, and talking as if you're someone else, it's just a bad place to be. And as we see it develop here, it just flops so bad at the end, when everything gets destroyed and broken up, and he has to reveal that like he's super sorry because he was lying and pretending to be her. And it all crumbles down, as soon as she wakes up, right? So you have to focus on what's the best thing that you can do now so that you have the best possible future later. Okay, sound cool? Awesome. So party pooped. Oh, this one's fun. Okay, so there is this new species of like animals called yaks. And so the yaks, they are like big, kind of like woolly mammoth looking things. And they're like super aggressive, and they're super big, and they like to jump up and down. And they live in a place called Yakistan, like way up north with lots of snow. And as they live here, they pretty much just like stomp all day and have giant parties all the time. And they're just huge guys. So they come over to Ponyville to like make a connection and, hopefully like establish peace and good relations with each other. And so Celestia, she organizes this meetup, right? And she puts Pinkie Pie, in as the head party planner for this huge meetup that they're going to have together with the ponies. And so Pinkie Pie, she sets up tons of party materials, and they, trick out the new castle with a bunch of, party materials, right? So that everybody's here, everyone's ready, and they're all super excited and happy to meet the new yaks. And so yaks come to town, they drop by, they say, hey, where are the yaks? Nice to meet you, big yak guy. And then they come inside, right? And when they get here, what happens is really interesting. So at the beginning, everything looks normal, everything looks natural. But like they walk inside and they start to like look at the food, look at the decor, look at the decorations, and they're like, we don't like this. And then they smash like everything, and they just jump around all over the place and make like a ridiculously huge mess, like everywhere. And they just destroy like all the decorations, all the furnishings, just like the general like castle. They're just like busting everything down because they're like huge, and they're like, we don't like this. It's not like our hometown, and it's something new. And so because they don't like this new environment, because they don't like this new atmosphere, they don't like the ponies, right? And so as they go through like their whole welcome ceremony and the whole party that Pinkie planned for them and that everyone had been working on together, because they thought, look, this is like the best things that we can offer them. They give them like giant cakes, and they said, this is not like a yak cake. We don't like this. So like they hate like all the cultural traditions and all the norms and all the normal pleasantries that they have, because it's not the same as what's in their hometown. And because of that, they can't connect the differences or appreciate the traditional culture that they have, right? They're like totally different, clashing ideologies, which like sucks, right? And so because of that, she realizes that like something's got to change, right? Because at this point, these guys are here and they're smashing like all the rooms, all the decorations, all the food. I mean, everything is just getting destroyed. And they go to bed at night and they like jump up on their beds and destroy them because they don't like they're not like yak beds, and they don't like the yaks. They don't like the pony beds. And they draw this like fine line between where they're used to be from, what they're used to, and then this new world, right? What the Pinkie and the main six and everyone is trying to show them about Equestria, right? And how they should have like this cool connection together. And as she tries to showcase what is the coolest things and have like a huge party, like the biggest problem is this party is through Pinkie's eyes, right? And it's not through what the yaks are used to or what the yaks love or what the yaks are passionate about. And so like the problem with that is Pinkie's never really been to the yaks before. And so she goes home, and at home she has like this party cave. And she takes the main six, everybody goes into the party cave. And in the party cave, like she has like giant filing folders of what everybody loves. And so like she has a folder for like, Twilight, right? And it's like the kind of cakes she likes, her birthdays, your favorite colors, party decorations, stuff like that. She's got all the histories of all her parties. Like she has this meticulous record keeping system for every single pony that she throws party for, every single one she throws party for. And the problem is like she doesn't have any record, she doesn't have any history for the yaks. So she doesn't really know where to start. She doesn't know what they like, and so she has really no clue on how to fulfill them, how to make them happy, how to make them succeed with their parties, right? So what she decided to do? Well, if she can't see through someone's eyes and she can't have the same experiences that someone else has, like the best she can do is to go to their hometown and figure out what life is like here. Because as soon as she can do that, all of a sudden, she can take in that perspective of the generalized other. She can look at exactly what these guys are doing at home and then replicate that and bring it back to them so they have that sense of connection. They have that sense that they've seen this before, right? And this is what they love to do. So she goes on this huge one-day expedition, like far north, beyond the borders of the empire and like everything that they're used to. And she hikes up to Yakakistan, and she gets to the top of, there's like a hill right before, the gates to Yakakistan. And as she gets to this hill, she gets right here on the hill. She is like 2 inches away from making it to this new land, and a ginormous gust of wind comes in and blows like a huge snowball off of the side of the mountain, and it like crushes into her, hits her, and she like lands in a sled. She slides like all the way back down to the train station and onto a train and goes all the way back home. A little bit exaggerated, but the point is she gets right there at the gates of her goal, and is sent all the way back home, back to the same problem that she started with, back to the same challenge she started with. And what she has to do now is realize that maybe she doesn't have the same background as the Yaks, and maybe she doesn't understand exactly what the Yaks are used to and what they love, but she knows what makes Ponyville great. She knows what makes her happy. She knows what makes their town happy. And so instead of focusing on trying to replicate what they already know and what they've been used to for so long, what she does is she simplifies her approach. She gets rid of all the complex parts. And she says, look, let's get rid of this. You know what? Not a big deal. I'm going to show you what, at the core, makes this place special to me. And what makes it important to us. Because, these guys, they're new to the area, right? So they've never seen just the basics before. And so she just walks them through town and shows them the people and shows them the happiness and shows them the community. And then, and only then, do the Yaks make their own connections inside their mind between the two places and between themselves and the ponies, right? That's when they start to form bonds. When they go through general, normal experiences with one another, and they just let it happen, let the friendship grow, and let themselves learn at their own pace what needs to happen. And that's when Pinkie strikes gold. And that's when, all of a sudden, all the problems, all the chaos, it all disappears. And the Yaks, they give Pinkie a big hug, and they say, you know what? We're going to have peace for 1,000 years. We're going to be super cool allies. You're going to be our friends. Everything's going to be amazing. We love you guys so much. And thank you for showing us just the basics. So sometimes, you might go over the top, or you might go super, super hard for some new kind of event. But a lot of times, if you just go back to square one and walk people through the process that got you excited about whatever you're passionate about, that's really going to be the best way to get them on board with you and to get them partnering with you and to start building your connection with them, building friendships. They're going to last a lifetime, which is super cool, super fun. So, with that said, how to get cooperation. This one is so cool. And it's the core foundational concept behind trial closes and selling. And it's this idea of getting people to say yes. 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 Over and over and over again. Does that make sense? See, the instant you can get someone to say yes to something small, it's easier to say yes to something bigger. It's easier to say yes to something bigger. It's easier to say yes to something bigger. Yes, something bigger. There's this movie, documentary on Netflix called Push, and freaking coolest thing ever. They spend the whole movie. They have a cast of people, and they bring them through this process. Okay, and at the beginning, they ask them to do small things hey, can you carry this or open this door or whatever? And then they start to ask them to do bigger things, hey, can you label these, meat dishes vegetarian? And then they say yes, and then they ask them to do bigger things. Hey, can you carry these out? Can you hold this door? Can you open this freezer? Can you lock this freezer? And then they ask them to do bigger things. Hey, this guy just passed out. Can you help me lay him over? Hey, this guy just had a heart attack. Can you help me hide him for this option? Hey, this guy is literally dead. Can you help me hide the body so we can take care of it later? Can you help me carry his body outside? Can you help me bring him into the stairwell? And then they realize he's alive. And then, I guess they elevate it, they escalate it. Can you bid on this item? Can you pretend to be the dead guy? And then at the end of the night, they walk onto the roof of this building. And he's sitting on the edge, and he's screaming at them, and he's yelling at them because he just woke up from being passed out and thinks they wanted to kill him. And he's freaking out. So he sits down on the edge of this building where there's a 30-foot drop beneath him. And, the guy who's been manipulating the subject for the entire time, the whole film, says, will you push this man? Push him. Must push him. Push him. And then 3 out of the 4 people push this guy to his death. They commit murder. Why did they commit murder? Why did they, total stranger, convince him to commit murder? Because they got micro commitments along the way. Yes. They got 100 little yeses before they got the big yes that mattered. And so if you can just get people to give you little commitments, micro commitments, teeny tiny things, along the way, it'll help you so much more if you need to ask them for something big. Now, so it's something big, it might be an idea. You might be selling an idea. It also might be money. Maybe you're just like selling something, right? It just depends on what you're doing. But if you can just get yeses along the way, right? And you can get people to say yes, you get them on the phone, and you ask them simple questions like something that, they can say yes to. Because it's just so powerful, because it's momentum, right? It's so much easier to say yes after you've said it like 30 times to somebody than it is after, never saying yes ever, right? This idea that, like, if I ask you, how's it going? Are you getting this? You feel this? Is that awesome? Are you excited? You see this? Is this awesome? Could you see this happening for you? Like, stuff like that. It's going to get you pumped. It's going to get you used to saying yes. So that if I'm at the end and I'm like, all right, cool, go here and buy this thing. You're going to say yes, right? It's so much easier to get people to say yes if you are constantly getting them to say yes to small things. Maybe don't have an immediate impact, but to get them used to saying yes, which is just huge, right? And so, it's awesome stuff. Another really great example, and then we'll move on. When I indoctrinate people into like me and my world and what I do, I send them out, usually like a ton of initial emails. It's just about content, delivering a ton of value. And I'm always delivering like a ton of value via email, right? And messaging, response, and all that great stuff. And like I'm training people, right, to say yes, to click links, to say yes, to go to content, to say yes, to learn more, because I'm giving them tons of value. And then later down the road, when it goes from content to content pitch, when I'm selling them items that or products or services that I know can fundamentally change their lives if they say yes, I want them to have said yes like so many times before they get to this point that it's just a no-brainer, because you've gotten so much value from the previous content that was like totally free. They're like, yeah, of course, move up the value ladder, go up and up and up and up to like, more expensive, starting it like free, right? And so that's really the goal, is that you just get them to say yes here, yes, because you want to exceed, you want to deliver, you want to be so impactful that the first yes makes them so excited that they want to go to the next yes, they want to go to the next yes, they want to go to the next yes. And that's a little bit more over the top, it's a little bit higher level. But for like your application of this, like it's really that simple. It's just, you've got to get people to say yes many times before you actually get them to the point that matters for you. Whether it be, this example, like literally killing someone they didn't obviously like he was on ropes, right? So he didn't actually die. He was on like a pulley system. But like for TV show, right? So it depends. Because people, there's this idea that like you trust. It was actually like, it's a freaking crazy movie. Because like they were talking about like authority and all this great stuff, and it was pretty cool. Awesome. So amending fences. Here's a cool one where we start to go a little bit more into like the earlier episodes of the season, and go back to the past, right? So when Twilight, like in the first episode, when she was leaving Canterlot, the day she left was like her friend's birthday party. Her name was like Moondancer, right? And so Moondancer was having a party with Twilight and then two of her other friends, and they were having a great old time. But Twilight ran off to, go to Celestia, and then it was like, this like super important event was happening where like the moon was gonna, turn into like this evil villain and all this important stuff. And so she kind of like hurries off to Ponyville. And in this episode, she returns, right, to her old home in Canterlot, to her old friends in Canterlot, and like says, hey, what's up? It's been like forever. Nice to see you guys. And, she meets up with some of her first friends, really quickly, and they say, yeah, really cool. Sorry we never really talked that much. It kind of sucks. But yeah, it's great to see you, Twilight. And then so she's like, well, where's Moondancer, right? Who's like the last friend that she had. And she's like, oh, I don't really know. I haven't seen Moondancer. And so she goes off on this little journey, on this little adventure, to find Moondancer, because Spike, he had a little present for Moondancer in the first episode, but it kind of got knocked out of his hands when he got like hit with a door. So anyway, they go off and they go into the city and they say, okay, well, where's Moondancer, right? And so they go through all these buildings, and then they find the library, right? And at the library, Twilight finds Moondancer. Moondancer's just like reading a book or something, and then she's at home reading, just tons and tons of like magic stuff, learning, whatever. Super cool stuff. And she's like super upset with Twilight. But Twilight doesn't really know why. And it's tough because she's not very transparent about it. She doesn't really express, hey, this is what's wrong. This is why I'm mad at you. This is like the problem, right? And instead she just kind of holds it up inside. Doesn't really say much about it. Doesn't really express her feelings and who she is enough to the other person, right? So a little bit of, a downtrend and just misinjunction on her part, to the extent that like she isn't very clear with what's wrong. And so Twilight, she keeps trying to like make fences or she make friends with Moondancer, but the problem is that she just doesn't really know what is going on. And so she asks and she prods and she pokes, and then she finally learns that this birthday party that Moondancer had years and years and years ago was like the first time that she ever really put herself out there with other ponies, and she ever like connected with other people and asked them to do things with her and tried to have an event or a party or some kind of fun thing with them. And so when Twilight, left to go to Ponyville and just ditched her and didn't even say goodbye, it left her like devastated, right? She was so sad and lonely and alone. And you see, the problem is like she cared way too much about like the people that were coming to her party. See, the thing with Twilight is she cared about the party, but she didn't care that much. And that's kind of where you need to be. Like you can't care that much. And so that's sort of how it works out, right? Is she's upset, right? She's sad because that was like her first opportunity to have friends. And so Twilight totally sympathizes with that because she used to be in that same position where she didn't really have any friends. She was trying new things. And so she realizes that like, okay, well, right now she's sad, right now she's upset, right now she doesn't think she has any friends. So what she does is she sets up this huge, elaborate party that's like super awesome for her friends so that she can be happy. And there's like streamers, banners. They have this like, you can see like this huge cake. I mean, everything's awesome with it, right? And so as he sets up this massive party for her, she wants to show her that like there can be so much more than just being alone and reading and working or whatever she's doing with her life in isolation. She just embraces friends, right? There's to build these bonds, build these connections, and make these social groups that can fundamentally shift every single aspect of her life by connecting her with other people. And so that's really her biggest push for her, is to make these connections and to get over these fears of friendship and to start working towards a better future based and completely grounded in collaboration and connection with others. So that's like the super, super cool thing that she wants her to do. And so she has this huge party. Everyone gets together. Everyone's happy. And for the first time in so many years, Moondancer starts to come out of her shell a little bit. She starts to realize that, other people can be nice. See, for her whole life, she had always associated socialization, friendship, groups with pain. But now she sees a new way. See, she overcame this initial traumatic childhood experience, which so many people have. They have this one thing that happened years and years and years ago that scares them and stops them from doing things in the future, which is awful. And as soon as she overcomes it, she has massive success and impact. Remember, when I was a kid, we go down this rock. They call it Sliding Rock, and they have like this whole river that overcome it. Like the river goes over the rock, and there's like this massive sliding effect, right? And as you go, you slide down the rock, and then you go, and you just go down into like the big river below, right? I went down this rock this one time, and there was like a can in one of these, a pipe. There was a pipe right here. There was like a can stuck, and so like I try to kick the can out with my foot while I'm going down at like 20 miles an hour or something. I don't know, and my foot gets stuck here. My whole body like twists around it, and I fly face forward. My foot gets stuck, and so like I seriously messed up my ankle. And for a very, very long time after, like, twisted my ankle, broke my ankle, whatever, and had to, like, it was a bad situation. And for a long time after that, like, I was afraid of slides. I was afraid of going down, hills or whatever. And, what you realize is, like, it doesn't matter. It's a one-off thing. Like, yes, you need to be careful, and yes, you need to care, but not that much. Just because you have one incident, one time when you're young, or something bad happens that maybe hurts you when you're early, right? Like, taste buds change. You have some food you hate when you're a kid. When you're an adult, you love it. You have an event that hurt you as a kid. When you're an adult, it could be your freaking career. So you've got to overcome these baseline tendencies and break through, the old ways of pain and overcome, this temporary pain for long-term gain. And as soon as you can do that, you can start to reveal, like, the magic of whatever it is you're avoiding. For her, it was friendship. And she figured out that these social groups were so powerful because somebody else came into her life and showed it to her and planned it for her and created it for her. For me, this example, right, it was this idea of, it was a little bit more than water. For me, it was this idea of adventure, going outside and having huge parties and having fun with friends and family and exploring. I was so afraid of that for a long time. But then I got over it. And all of a sudden, what's that mean? It means more connections, more experiences, more memories, more traveling, more hiking, more fun that I would have never had before if I couldn't overcome the pain of this memory and remembering, like, how much it hurt. Because you just have to get over it. And sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's internal, sometimes it's external, sometimes it's physical. You break your foot like me, and then what happened is, like, the doctor for the first week said it wasn't broken, so I walked around on, like, a broken ankle for a week. Then he called and he was like, "Hey, just kidding, it's broken." It was very freaking not fun. And that's something that, like, hurt me for a long time until I realized that, look, it's not a big deal. Get over it. So if you have anything that you remember in your childhood, it's holding you back, the best thing you can do to conquer that fear is to just get out there and do it, because action destroys fear. Action devastates fear. And that's really the best way to absolutely crush it. So, cool. And that's how she mended fences, right? She got her to have friends again and learn that the magic of friendship is the best thing.